We have so much news this week. We've crammed it all into an easy to watch mega update, from 2020 being pretty much wiped out to updates from the CDC. We're on a cruise right now, so stay tuned. Well, ahoy there, cruisers.
Welcome to this week's Cruise News Roundup, coming to you from a cruise ship docked here in Barbados.
First of all, as you can see, yes, we are on a cruise, or well, a yacht ship, and it's been absolutely fantastic. And we feel really lucky to be here. Make sure you check out all of the videos that we're putting up from the Sea Dream Yacht Club, and we have to say we're so impressed. It's so unique and such a fantastic experience. We genuinely are having one of the best cruises that we've ever had.
Yeah, we can't recommend them enough. They're doing a fantastic job, keeping us safe, and we're having a great time. So, should we get on with the cruise news, Ben?
Yeah, but most importantly, David, they're sailing right now, so you can actually sail, which is crazy.
First up, most cruise lines from the USA have now cancelled all their 2020 sailings. This includes all clear cruise lines, including Royal Caribbean, Disney, Norwegian, Carnival, Holland America, Princess, and all the other big cruise lines. Remember though, this is for cruises from the USA. Some lines such as Sea Dream and several European lines are still operating.
But talking about cruise lines like this and sailing elsewhere, unfortunately in Europe, MSC Magnifica has been put on hold until December the 18th because of several shutdowns in countries such as France and Germany. So yeah, they're delayed till the middle of September, which isn't great, but not totally unexpected. Plus, Royal Caribbean are still planning to sail this month in Singapore using Singaporean residents. They're going to be using Quantum of the Seas on short cruises to nowhere, so just sailing around.
That's great. I had a couple of the crew members from Quantum, a couple of you guys watching have been in touch to say you're super excited to get back sailing again.
Yeah, they're already heading over to Singapore to board, so that looks like it's definitely happening. Now, in a tiny little bit of glimmer of light, the CDC have taken down the no sail order finally. But don't celebrate too soon because there are some major hoops that cruise lines have to jump through. So let's explain what that means. First of all, it's going to be a phased approach with a slow start. A document has been sent to cruise lines called the Framework for Conditional Sailing and Initial Phase COVID-19 Testing Requirements for the Protection of Crew. Wow, that's a mouthful. So some of the main pullouts from this report include, for crew, they must all be tested. It has to be a full PCR test with the results analysed in an onshore approved laboratory.
Once crew members are tested on the day of boarding, they must quarantine on the ship for 14 days. And cruise lines must test every crew member every single week. For passengers, they must be given a rapid test when embarking and disembarking. And all ships must have testing facilities on board.
So furthermore, before beginning sailing, lines must carry out what they're calling simulated voyages to prove their protocols work. This must be done at least 30 days before they plan to resume operations. There will be passengers on board for these simulated tests. They must volunteer to take part, be over 18, and they're going to have a health certificate from their doctor stating that they are fully healthy to sail. The simulations will cover all aspects of cruising, from embarking to disembarking, life on board, and even emergency evacuation procedures. They're even going to be simulating quarantine outbreak and emergency protocols on board. If they do plan to stop anywhere, it has to be private islands only. And this brings us on to Royal Caribbean, who said they're going to do a few test sailings to their private island, Coco Cay, in the Bahamas. So they say they may need volunteers for these short cruises. And once it's fulfilled the requirements, like we've just mentioned, they will start the test voyages. They haven't yet decided how they're going to select people to participate in the voyage, but they did mention using employees and that they may be looking for some volunteers. So if anybody fancies a cruise, keep a lookout for that because Royal Caribbean might need you.
The framework is so complex that we've tried to pull out some of the most interesting parts. Some of these elements are going to be difficult and costly for cruise lines to implement, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. But still, the CDC is singling out cruise lines, as none of these requirements are required on flights, theme parks, holiday resorts, or any other sort of vacation. I mean, talk about double standards.
Yeah, as you know, we've mentioned this before, we're really not happy how the CDC have dealt with this whole situation. They've been dragging their feet through the whole time. As you know, a few weeks ago, they asked the public to comment on cruise and how should it return. Why wasn't this done for air travel? Why wasn't this done for any other type of travel or vacation resort? They are clearly being targeted again by having all of these hoops they have to jump through when anything could happen anywhere else. For flights, for example, they're saying that they're safer than ever, but how can it be safe to sit 6 inches away from somebody who has COVID, is wearing a mask, but still coughing and sneezing? If you're 6 inches away from them for 4 hours, you are going to get COVID. There is much more chance of that happening on a flight than on a cruise with less people on board and all of the amazing measures, just like on Sea Dream, that they're putting in place.
Yeah, even the best air technology filters on aircraft is not going to stop this virus.
So in other news, the Bahamas this week have announced that you're going to need a health travel visa to visit. Well, basically you're going to need to purchase one. Some requirements of the visa include a PCR test 5 days before arriving and a rapid test on day 5 if you're still on the island. Masks and social distancing will also be required everywhere. And for visitors staying under 4 days, it's $40 each, which personally I think is quite expensive just for a travel certificate.
Yeah.
Children under 10, it's free, but still. So what does this mean for cruise? Are you going to have to pay for a certificate just to visit private islands, which the cruise lines own? Because many of those are in the Bahamas.
And in other news, residents of Key West, Florida voted overwhelmingly to restrict cruise lines visiting the port. This includes restricting the number of ships and visitors and banning vessels with over 1,300 passengers on board. Again, this is ridiculous. Are residents also allowed to ban flights or cars or even buses visiting the area?
Well, that's it, yeah. Since when were residents in certain areas allowed to say no to things like transportation? Are they going to be stopping buses, trains? It really is ridiculous. And again, it's aiming at cruise.
Yeah.
Just last year in the Key West, there were over 1 million visitors. Half of these were from cruise lines. So imagine the huge economical impact it's going to have. Lots of businesses have came out against this and said, obviously, we're going to lose loads of money.
I mean, cruise ships have been visiting this port since the 1960s. It's like living next to an airport and then complaining about the noise.
Well, yeah.
Most of the residents haven't been there since then.
Well, I was going to say most of the residents, the large majority, have moved to that area next to the cruise port after 1960. So yeah, as David said, it's like complaining about noise from an airport when you've moved there knowing it's an airport. It's a bit crazy. And finally, in a world's first, Viking Cruises have installed a full PCR laboratory on board. So this means they're going to be able to take tests and get the results on board, but they're saying it's a world's first, but I think Sea Dream have already done that, haven't they? Because they have 3 machines on board and they have the capability of testing fully on board as well. So it's just a similar thing. They're saying they've came up with a new saliva non-invasive test and they have the ability to test all passengers and crew in the same day and get the results. So it's like Sea Dream as well. So I think Sea Dream were first. So that's it for this episode. We really hope you enjoyed it. Here from the Bahamas, how amazing is that? We are so lucky to be here, aren't we?
Not in the Bahamas.
We're not in the Bahamas. We're in
Barbados.
Barbados. That's because I was talking about
the Bahamas, yeah.
Yes, so thank you for joining us here in Barbados. We hope you enjoyed it. We love to hear from you. Leave us some comments in the comment section below and hit that subscribe button. We've got so many fab videos coming.
Thank you to all of our patrons for your support. You can find out more about becoming a patron in the description section below.
Time for a cocktail?
I think it is. So that's it until next time.
Happy cruising.